Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the month of March. We're going to be talking about something serious today, but don't worry, we'll keep it fun. Nigeria's economy, as usual, and more importantly, the 5 biggest myths or misconceptions about the Nigerian economy. Buckle up because it's going to be a Lambo ride. Oh, sorry, a bumpy ride. The first myth is Nigeria's oil wealth guarantees prosperity. We all love to brag, right? Nigeria is rich in oil. We should be swimming in dollars. Well, not
Uh-oh.
exactly. Over-reliance on oil has put us in a very tight spot. Just in May 2024, our crude oil production fell to 1.25 million barrels per day, less than we did in April. So, logic states, less oil, less revenue, more economic hardship, right? So, what is the lesson here? The lesson is oil wealth does not guarantee prosperity, as we need to diversify the economy into more emerging trends, into technology, agriculture, and manufacturing, and not just waiting for oil money to save our economy or foreign exchange position. The second myth, high GDP growth equates better living standards. Well, let me shock you. As at second quarter in 2024, Nigeria GDP went up to 3.19%. This might sound great, right? But here's the thing. If GDP is a chill guy, flexing at a 3.19% growth rate, then what do we say about inflation that is also flexing at a 34.8% as at December 2024? So the question is the social welfare really improving? And there's a reason I didn't use the newly rebased inflation rates of 24.48%. Because when we are really speaking about social welfare, you would agree with me that the inflationary rate of 24.48% doesn't really reflect current economic realities. Well, that is my own opinion anyways. So there's also a spoiler alert that the current economic reality is Nigerians are currently struggling than ever. Because when the per capita income is currently at $835.49, which is a huge decline from the $3,220 in 2014. Now, when we look at this per capita income as a metric, we can see that this is, in my own opinion, a better reflection of social welfare rather than using a rebased inflation rate. So the reflex would be making sure that economic growth actually benefits the people rather than having a short-term misconception that economic growth actually equates to better welfare. And one other thing is we also have to focus on making sure that the economic challenges that we face in Nigeria do not erode the economic growth that we actually make. The third myth is urbanization automatically leads to economic growth. So a very good example is Lagos, right? So Lagos is booming, Nigeria is booming, Abuja is booming. Or is it? You know, more people, more buildings, more skyscrapers, right? But hold on. What about more people without the right infrastructure to do their businesses? What about bad roads? Or what about people who are living without proper housing? You see, rents are crazy nowadays. And I'm not even joking, right? So before you can get a two-bedroom apartment, and if you're able to get a two-bedroom apartment for over a 1 million naira or over 2 million naira, then you should count yourself lucky because you just hit the gold line, right? So this is also one of the reasons why even dirty December wasn't so dirty in 2024, right? Because people couldn't just afford to spend a lot of money. And you can agree with me that inflation actually eroded a lot of people's purchasing power. So while urbanization is great, if it is not planned right, we are just building fancier traffic jams and we are just building more fancy houses without anybody actually living in them because they are too expensive. So the fourth myth is foreign aid will solve poverty. So someone can just wake up and say, okay, the West should just give us more money or we should just borrow more money. Well, that sounds familiar, right? Yes, because we are living in Nigeria, a country where we usually prefer to take more debt to solve some of our economic challenges. But you see, the problem of relying on foreign aid is like borrowing money from an uncle who never lets you forget it. So while you keep on borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, the uncle is taking record and the uncle keeps remembering the last time you borrowed money. And this has an adverse effect on the future of the economy. So how can we solve this challenge? So one of the alternatives is having an internal focus on sourcing for funds internally and increasing our economic growth internally. So we can actually do this by supporting local businesses, investing in manufacturing, and fostering the entrepreneurship spirit. So one truth is no one is coming to save us. So we better start saving ourselves. The fifth myth is education will solve poverty. Well, you see, I just have to emphasize that education is a very, very powerful tool. But let's be real. If degrees alone created jobs, then Nigeria wouldn't have an unemployment rate of 4.3% as of 2025. And you see, the funny thing about this low unemployment rate is we have an unemployment rate as low as 4.3%, and we have a poverty rate of as high as 70.7%, which is estimated to occur in 2025. So you can see the disparity between these two metrics. So we need to start training people for jobs that actually do exist, not giving people degrees for jobs that are already becoming obsolete or jobs that do not exist. So we need more practical training. We need to get more tech skills training. So this is also one of the reasons why this is one of the things that separates developed countries from developing countries, because developed countries are able to look into the future, see emerging trends, and take advantage of these emerging trends. One of those emerging trends is this technological boom, or this new AI concepts that are developing. So what do we need to do to take advantage of that area? We really need to start building capacity so that we won't be left out in the future, right? Apart from that, we need to promote entrepreneurship spirit, and we need to encourage more practical or vocational training and not just issue out theoretical degrees. So there you have it, guys. 5 economic myths officially shattered. You see, Nigeria has massive, massive potential. But only if we stop believing in fairy tales and start making real changes can we actually actualize these potentials. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to like, share, and keep this conversation going. Thank you.